Welcome to the OddsBreakers, number one place for shared, sharp betting information.
Welcome back to podcast 28 of 2021. I'm your host, Kiev O'Neill. You can follow me on Twitter at OBKiev. Follow us at the OddsBreakers and follow us on social media / the OddsBreakers. This episode is being brought to you by mybookie.ag. For a 100% sign-up bonus, please visit MyBookie and use the promo code OddsBreakers. Terms, conditions, and location apply. If you'd like to help us out with our cost and sponsor the website and the podcast, we'd love to help you out. Please visit theoddsbreakers.com, click shop, and become a member. For $24.99 a month, you can get my premium plays before the line moves. And if nothing else, please visit theoddsbreakers.com to get some free picks and become a newsletter subscriber. My friends, the Masters is rolling a little bit here. It's day one. I have it on right now as I'm podcasting, and we have a long shot that's tied for first right now. You can probably guess who that is. Gave it out as a premium play. Obviously, a lot of golf to go, but hoping we hit one of these futures in golf. Played a couple match plays as well. Masters is always a huge event and an extremely hard place to play golf. I mean, the best of the best struggle here. And so it's always interesting to watch this over in Augusta. So having a good time watching this, watching a little bit of baseball as well. And we are 9-3 in baseball. Great start to the baseball season. Really happy about that. And we'll be giving out more free plays on baseball throughout the year. My friends, we have a great show for you today because Sig from Wagertalk is here to talk about the Arkansas Derby. Huge prep race for the Kentucky Derby. And we're also going to talk about the Kentucky Derby coming up at the end of the month. One of my favorite times of year. Can't wait to grab some mint juleps and watch that. Probably poolside this year. Don't think we're going to make it out to Churchill Downs. But either way, happy for Sig to come on and discuss all that stuff. At the end of the show, I'm also going to talk a little bit about UFC on ABC 2. We have some good fights coming up this weekend. We have Vettori versus Holland. So maybe I'll have a play or two for you guys coming up here at the end of this podcast. Before we get into Sig, quickly on the NFL. We're always paying attention to the NFL as well as college football, but there will be 17 games now for 2021 season, which means there's going to be one less preseason game from 4 to 3. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of this. It's just more chances for your star players to get hurt, in my opinion, before getting to the playoffs. I thought 16 was a fine number for an NFL season. I think less is more when it comes to the NFL. It makes games more important. I think it's part of the reason we're such big NFL fans is there's not so many games. Like in the NBA, the regular season really doesn't matter to the top teams. They just want to get in. Nobody's trying to break any records anymore. Players are resting. I don't want the NFL to turn into that. We always known that baseball is more of a pastime until the end of the season. I mean, there's way too many games, in my opinion, for baseball as well. But when baseball was created back in the 1800s, there wasn't a lot of sports out there. So, they pretty much had the market. They never took the games away, and that's fine. I understand it. It's the national pastime. Well, it used to be anyway. But it's fun to watch throughout the summer. But in my opinion, you don't need 162 games to figure out who the best team is. The best team could change, obviously, through injuries anyway. Is that what you want? I don't know. I love baseball, so I don't necessarily want it to change that much. But either way, the NFL is changing, and they're adding more games. For the sport that it is, very physical sport, I am concerned about the health of the teams coming into the playoffs. I'm also getting a little concerned if players might take a little bit of extra time on some of their injuries throughout the season because they're getting paid anyway. And why would they want to play and beat up their bodies? I don't know. It's less important to win that regular season game, if there's more of them, So handicapping could be a little harder if players decide not to play before the game, like in the NBA. So I'll be watching to see if anything really develops from that. But season win totals are definitely going to be changed. Obviously, it's going to change the futures a little bit too of these teams coming in. No really news on if they're changing the playoffs. I really hope they don't. I hope they keep it the same number. All right, my friends, let's get into a little bit of horses then with our guy Sig from Wagertalk, who has just moved back to Las Vegas. And now I'm very happy to bring back to the OddsBreakers a longtime horse bettor and a handicapper for Wagertalk.com. You know him from his show Pony Pundits on Wagertalk TV. I'm really excited to welcome back Sig from Wagertalk. You can find him on Twitter at Sig Las Vegas. Sig, what is new with you this year?
Well, it's been an interesting year between COVID and so forth and everything, but I just made the move to Las Vegas permanently now, and just getting settled in out here and getting ready for some big races this weekend and coming up over the next 2 months.
You're back, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. And I heard you're shacking up with Marco a little bit.
Yeah, temporary housing here while I sort out a job and sell my house back home. So,
well, what are friends for, right? I mean, there you guys go. No, I love your show, Pony Pundits. It's getting big this time of year too, because now the Triple Crown races are about to begin. So I'm really excited to talk to you about that. And I had Marco on last week, and he gave out a nice winner for the Bluegrass Stakes. We actually hit the trifecta. It was nice. It wasn't the biggest trifecta we've ever hit, right? But I think it was like something like 17-1. I think, which was cool because I played a $10 trifecta on that one, so that worked out. And you guys did the same on Pony Pundits, didn't you?
Yeah, we had a nice show on Pundits last week. Actually, my 4 choices that we give out on the show each week came in order, so it was a nice cold superfecta. And like you said, it didn't pay fantastic, but when you have a big favorite like Essential Quality, do what they're supposed to do. A lot of people had that horse keyed on top, and you're not going to see those big payouts that you might see at a smaller track or when that long shot jumps into your exotic tickets like your trifecta and your supers.
No, totally, absolutely. Essential Quality was probably keyed in a lot of pick 3s and pick 4s too, wasn't he?
He was, yes. He was the key in my pick 4 and pick 5 that day, and definitely. I mean, it was actually a little scary there. I mean, he got a run for his money from Highly Motivated, and it looked for a minute like he was going to possibly fall to him, but he showed a lot of heart. And that's what you need to see from a Derby horse, is that ability to come from behind and not get flustered. I think it's the first time he really didn't have it easy, and he still was able to surpass Highly Motivated and take the win down in the Bluegrass.
That's right. With only a few lengths left, he did overtake Highly Motivated. And I'm wondering if that horse got better too. Is that horse on the up, or I'm trying to think about the Kentucky Derby here, and Highly Motivated will be in the Derby now, and probably at like something like 25-1, I believe. So I'm just wondering if what we saw was real from this horse too. So I'm really excited to get into the Derby. As a matter of fact, let's talk a little Derby here. Essential Quality is penciled in as a favorite right now, and I see him at 3.5-1, at 4-1. Is this horse a deserving favorite?
I think he is going to be your deserving favorite. I think Essential Quality has had. I mean, he's undefeated. He won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. He's just basically looked very strong in the entire trip here to the Kentucky Derby that first Saturday in May. And I think after this weekend in the Arkansas Derby, which we'll talk about in a little bit, Concertor will probably be the most likely challenger to him at the top of the morning line. I would see Essential Quality probably instill maybe, maybe 3-1, maybe 5-2 on your morning line. And I would think that Concertor, as long as he wins the Arkansas Derby, will come in just under that, maybe 3-1, possibly 7-2. But I think those are your two basically morning line favorites for the Kentucky Derby, as long as Concertor does what he should do on Saturday.
Why is Concertor running this? Arkansas Derby. He's qualified for the Kentucky Derby. He's the second favorite coming in here. I mean, is there? I guess for anybody that's new to horse racing, can you explain why he's still doing this race?
Well, I mean, Baffert had him in here. He didn't race at all as a 2-year-old, which was a downfall for Kentucky Derby entrants up until Justify broke that curse back in 2018. But he made his 3-year-old debut and his horse racing debut back in January at Santa Anita and took down his maiden, and then came right back in February, won the San Vicente Stakes, and Baffert shipped him out here to Oaklawn so he didn't have to go head-to-head with Life is Good back at Santa Anita. And he went and won that pretty convincingly as well. But Baffert likes to ship his horses around so they don't have to face each other up until Derby Day. He gets more horses into the field and so forth. Like I said, Concertor has enough points in there, but he hasn't raced since March 13th. So it's pretty much a month out here, and then he'll have 3 weeks here before the Derby. I think getting one more good run in from him will definitely help him in his preparation for it.
Yeah, so basically, there's too much of a gap between his last race and the Kentucky Derby. So that's, one of the main reasons they're going to risk him in this race. Correct, Sig?
Right. He being not raced as a 2-year-old and only starting as a 3-year-old, he has 3 races in so far this year, which is actually odd for, if you go back and look at the Derby over the last, I believe, 9 or 10 years, 7 of the last 9 years, the Derby winner has 2 starts as a 3-year-old, and then the other 2 times is 3 starts. So this will be his 4th start, and then if Concertor goes to the Derby, it'll actually be his 5th start, which basically puts him against the odds. But a number of Baffert runners, most recently American Pharoah, took this path and went through the Arkansas Derby before going on to win the Kentucky Derby. So I don't think he has too many fears about this, but there may be too many races under this horse's belt as a 3-year-old come that first Saturday in May to make him a real strong contender. Oh,
yeah, absolutely. So, and he's undefeated, correct? Concertor's undefeated.
He is undefeated,
yep. I find that really interesting. You got Essential Quality at the top, undefeated. Concertor undefeated, risking his undefeated status to run in this Arkansas Derby to prep for the Kentucky Derby. I would definitely be curious if he doesn't win this race to see where his odds would drop down to. I guess if he looks really bad, you're probably looking more like a 12-1 to 20-1. And maybe if he's close to the front, you're probably still looking at 7-1, 10-1, something like that. Is that fair, Sig?
I would think so, yeah. But, I mean, give a little foreshadowing here to our Arkansas Derby talk. It's going to be hard for him to lose this race unless he runs the wrong direction out of the starting gate.
Well, let's get into that then, my man. Arkansas Derby coming up here. And obviously it's a field of only 6 horses this year. Can you explain to our audience why only 6?
I mean, in general, this crop of 3-year-olds definitely has me scratching my head a lot more than previous years. There's no super standouts in here. Yes, Concertor and yes, Essential Quality are undefeated horses, and there are a couple other undefeated 3-year-olds on the path to the Derby. But in general, it's not the strongest crop of 3-year-olds. And if you guys remember last year, Oaklawn Park moved the Arkansas Derby to that first Saturday in May when Churchill decided to postpone the Kentucky Derby. They ended up having 2 fields. They had so many entrants into the Arkansas Derby last year. So it's odd to go from a grade 1 with 2 different complete fields running to one grade 1 with just 6 horses in it. But this is basically the last 100-point prep on the road to Kentucky Derby. And as trainers have been doing recently, they like that full month between starts for their horses. So if they start and run on Saturday, it's only going to give them 3 weeks prior to the Derby. And most of the horses that had their shot either are already qualified for the Derby or ran the past 2 weeks in either, say, Santa Anita, at the Bluegrass, at Keeneland, in the Wood, at Aqueduct, or in the Florida Derby at Gulfstream. So bringing them back this quickly is not usually recommended. We do see a horse like Proxy, though, coming back pretty quickly in the Lexington at Keeneland this weekend as well, trying to get those last few precious Derby points.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so we're looking at 3 weeks only here. That's interesting. Yep. So boom. Well, then it's almost like the same gap between the Preakness and the Belmont, right? Isn't that
right?
Is it 3 weeks, and it's 2 weeks only between the Preakness and the Kentucky Derby. So these horses are kind of going right at it here, and that's what. And I guess that's going to be interesting to talk about later if Concertor wins this, and then all of a sudden he's going to play. Say he wins the Kentucky Derby. It's the whole Triple Crown thing, we're going to be scratching our head a little bit because, I mean, this horse has kind of been running back to back to back to back, right?
Right. It's going to be a tough year for him.
Yeah, definitely. Well, real quickly, is this the field going into the Kentucky Derby? Where would you compare it to some of the other fields the last few years?
I mean, we can't really compare last year because they postponed that Derby till September. But if we go back to 2019, the year of maximum security, I would think that field was probably about on par with this one. Some of these horses are just starting to come into their own now. We saw a horse like Rock Your World come from racing on the turf to coming on to win his first third start in the Santa Anita Derby, which is pretty big time. Known Agenda, a Pletcher trainee, has definitely come back and won the Florida Derby. We didn't really expect that. So, and then there's like a horse like the King, who's number 3 in your Derby point standings, and a lot of people haven't even heard of this horse. He took the route via Turfway Park to get into the starting gate. He ran second in the Battaglia, and then won the Jeff Ruby Stakes. But Turfway is sort of on that second tier, but because it's still in Kentucky, it does get a lot of respect and a lot of betting action. But I'm sure a lot of people look at the Derby standings and say, I don't know this like the King because he wasn't on the major circuits like Gulfstream, New York, or Southern California.
Oh, gotcha. So in general, you don't think this field compares to the earlier ones?
I think it's a little bit weaker. I think Essential Quality, who's going to be your favorite, and Concert Tour are both good horses. I don't think either one's completely and totally dominant. And I think that it's going to be a really good betting race that first Saturday in May come at Churchill Downs. I think there's a lot of horses that may have a chance here to win at a price.
Well, you got Essential Quality at 4-1. We've seen higher odds before, or worse odds for us. Better odds for the horses to win, for the favorite to win. So that's kind of telling me that maybe anybody can hit the board here, right?
Right. I mean, that's the big thing with Derby Day. If you remember a couple years ago, the year Maximum Security crossed the finish line first, but then the win was awarded to Country House. I mean, Country House was a huge long shot that day. And with a 20-horse field entering the starting gate, anything can happen that day. And because a lot of these horses haven't faced each other, it's going to set up, I think, a really interesting – I don't think there's a whole lot of early pace right now in the Derby, so it's going to sort of set it up a little bit, I think, for the stronger horses. But a lot can happen here in the next couple of weeks, and then between like a horse like Greyest Honor, who was one of the Derby favorites or near the top of the Derby favorites, got scratched out this week. He has some medical issue that trainer Chuck McKay, they're going to basically give him 60 days off, so he's going to miss the entire Triple Crown run. Hopefully he can get back on his feet and be back for the fall. But there's a lot of horses that I think that are improving and making those big leaps forward that we see with these 3-year-olds coming right into Derby. And a couple of these are primed to make the third start off the layoff, which is usually the best start for a horse as a 3-year-old at the Kentucky Derby. And I think we're going to see some horses with some longer shots definitely be up there closer to the front and have a shot at hitting the board.
All right. Well, excited for that to come up. Getting back to the Arkansas Derby here, only 6 horses. You kind of hinted on this already. Sounds like Concert Tour is the deserving favorite at a very small price of 3-5. Well, not great to bet on for winner, place, or show.
That's for sure. But, I mean, we always look for ways to use him in vertical and horizontal bets to get a little profit out of them.
All right. Well, there you go. That's the way we should be attacking these situations. And last week with the Bluegrass, that's exactly what Marco said. He said, take the exotic plays, take them to vertically rather than horizontally. So I like that. And that really worked out for us. So great stuff on that. Well, is there anybody that can give Concert Tour a little bit of a run for his money?
I think there's a couple horses in this field that may give him a shot. The 2 Caddo River. The thing is, a lot of these horses, 5 of these 6 horses all raced each other in the Rebel last month here at Oaklawn, so they're all familiar with them. And I mean, they all should improve. I mean, a little bit differently, but Caddo River was definitely one that we were expecting. I was expecting to come out and give Concert Tour a race early. And what happened was he was real rank early, and the jockey, Florent Giroux, basically battled him. If you go back and watch the replay of that race, Giroux's got a real tight grip on him early. He's trying to get to the front, and Concert Tour took to the lead right out of the gate. And Giroux wouldn't let him get to the front. He let him just sit right off a Concert Tour for the entire race. But as he got to the end of the race, he wore down. And I think that early fighting with the jockey definitely took a lot out of him. If you watch, he was drifting in the stretch run. He actually interfered with almost every horse coming down the stretch and ended up finishing fifth in that race. Caddo River comes from the barn of Brad Cox, who's been really hot. Same barn, same trainer for Essential Quality, who's our top Derby contender right now. But I think Cox has another good runner here in Caddo River. I think Giroux's, this will be his fourth time aboard Caddo River, and I think he's going to give him a much better ride. I think he may just let him go early and just try to get him out front, or at least battle Concert Tour in the early stages and maybe wear him down a little bit. The other horse I think Concert Tour might be concerned with is a barmaid, Hosier. Also from Bob Baffert's barn. He ended up finishing second in the Rebel due to a lot of that was due to the interference that Caddo River caused coming down the stretch. But he's actually making his same as his barmaid Concert Tour, his fourth start so far as a 3-year-old. He did not race as a 2-year-old. But I see some steady improvement in him. And Martin Garcia, who ran him last out, also is coming back to ride him here on Saturday. And I think he has that closing kick that might be necessary. If Caddo River and Concert Tour do lock up and go real fast early, it's going to set this race up for a horse like Hosier, who could come in and sweep down the stretch lot and run them all down.
All right. Well, there you go. And this is a 1 1/8, similar to the other prep races. So here we go. Caddo River interfered that last race, right? And where was that at?
That was at Oaklawn here. Okay. He just exerted too much energy early and didn't have anything left in the tank in that stretch run. And when horses do that, you'll see them drifting in the stretch. They're just tiring out and they're trying their best, but they just don't have full capacity at that point.
Gotcha. All right. Did he get no suspension for that or anything? No disqualification?
No, there was no disqualification for it, but if you watch the race, you can just see how he caused issues for other horses in the stretch run. All
right, well, there you go. Interesting stuff there. A couple of years back, we remember that big infraction that happened in the Kentucky Derby here. So I think that was 2018. Let's get into throwouts then. Who are we completely throwing off our ticket?
Well, actually, the 6 horse here is the name on his Last Samurai, 15-1, the morning line. First thing, Kiev, if I ever owned a racehorse, the last word I would want in the horse's name is the word last.
Yeah, right.
But I think that's where this one's going to finish on Saturday. The Malibu Moon Colt has only hit the board once in his career, and that was his maiden-breaking win at Churchill back last September. His other 3 finishes are 5th, 6th, and 9th, and that's by a combined 36 lengths he finished behind the eventual winners here. His speed figures are nowhere near the rest of this field. And his performance in the Southwest Stakes, which was the precursor of the February Derby Trail race to at Oaklawn Park, the Southwest Stakes, he finished over a sloppy track there, 5th, but he was 13 lengths back. The sloppy track was maybe a little bit, he was coming off a layoff here, but I think it'll take a miracle for this colt to be a factor on Saturday. And I don't often do this in a 6-horse field, but I believe you can toss this one.
Completely toss him, not even hit the all button in your tries, huh?
I mean, with a 6-horse field, you can. It's only going to cost you a little bit more on the ticket, but I don't see any way that this horse makes the leap forward he would need to in order to be a part of the top 4 here.
All right. Well, is there any long shots, or is that pretty much already been discussed with Hosier and Caddo River?
I think those are your 2 best chances to upset Concert Tour. Because it's only a 6-horse field, the longest shots after that are the 1 Superstock, 6-1, your morning line, and then you have your 4 Getter Number, who is 6-1, the morning line, shipping in for Peter Miller. Getter Number ran in the Rebel Stakes here last month as well, finished 7th, never really got any run in her. May have a chance to make a little bit of improvement here, but the speed figures don't show that on par with the other horses that we mentioned. I think the winner of this race, if it isn't Concert Tour, comes from either the 3 Hosier or the 2 Caddo River.
All right. So the Last Samurai is the throwout. How are you planning on playing this? And you kind of already mentioned you're going to go exotics.
Yeah, I'll be looking at exotics. If I'm looking for exactas, I'm going to be looking to play the 5 Concert Tour over the 2 and the 3, Caddo River and Hosier. Maybe come back for about half of what you put on that the other way around with the 2 and 3 over the 5. Mm-hmm. And then if you're going deeper for trifectas and so forth, I would look at something like the 5 with the 2, 3 with the 1 and the 4 underneath for your trifectas.
5, 2, 3 in the place, and the 1 and the
5
4
and 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 for the third spot on your trifectas.
And this is just another one you got to be careful, because if you do too many combinations, you're going to price yourself out of it if it finishes 5, 2, 3. Correct?
Right. You're going to end up being net negative with your investment if you get too much involved in this. Being a 6-horse field, I wouldn't say get too much involved. The 5, 2, 3, I think, gets you a nice exacta either way. And then if you come with the reverse, if an upset does happen, I think Concert Tour's still going to be there at the end. He's been working fantastic. The last couple works that I've watched online, he just looks really, really strong. He looks like he's getting better. And he's going to need to get better because I think essential quality right now is a little bit faster. And I was really impressed with how he motivated in the bluegrass. And I think he has a chance to make a big leap forward, too, here coming Kentucky Derby Day.
All right. Well, bringing up workouts, how much emphasis do you put on workouts, I guess, compared to their past performances?
I'm sorry, could you say that one more time?
Sure, absolutely. How much emphasis do you put on the horses' workouts over their past performances? This is kind of a general question.
The past performances really show you how well they're going to perform in the heat of a race, whereas if you look at the workouts, I mean, there's some horses and some trainers that don't work their horses fast, but they still come back and run fast. I want to see some good workouts, and I like to see a pattern in the workouts with a fast work followed by a slow work followed by a fast work, and then ideally that leads up to you want to see a slower work right before the race coming up, and you expect a better performance out of the horse coming that race. But I do definitely put more weight on the past performance of the horse in a race versus how they perform in the morning in the workouts.
All right. No, that's good to know. The weight is definitely more on the past performances, but the workout might be able to tell you something if something sticks out. Is that fair?
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely fair. And there are certain trainers, Bob Baffert's one of them who has 2 in here, who have a specific workout pattern and have the ability to get a horse stretched out longer just based on workouts and maybe not at the track. So you might see a horse coming from a sprint distance, say 7 or 6 furlongs into a route, which is a mile or more. And you may say this horse has ever raced at a route. And in most cases, for most trainers, that's a red flag that, hey, maybe this horse doesn't have the ability or the stamina to do it. But Baffert's had the ability in the past to take a horse running sprints and get him ready for a route going a mile, maybe a mile and an eighth, right out of the starting gate. So there's certain trainers and so forth that definitely have the ability to train their horses to be ready to go at a longer distance, and Baffert's definitely one of those trainers.
Yeah, certainly Baffert. I would think maybe Pletcher and Cox would be up there somewhere as well.
Yeah, Cox has definitely been on this run here since last year. He had a great Breeders' Cup. Pletcher actually had a really quiet Gulfstream, which is usually the meet that he dominates. But then he had a hell of a weekend the past 2 weekends, winning the Florida Derby and then having that huge winner in the Wood at Aqueduct.
Yeah, Bourbonic ended up 72-1. That horse hit. And I wonder if anybody had any exotics with him on top, but that could.
Oh, I'm sure some people did. I mean, it's Todd Pletcher over Todd Pletcher, and the biggest question on Twitter after that race was, how did a Todd Pletcher horse ever go off at 72-1?
That is a very true question, my man. How many races will you be handicapping this weekend?
This weekend I'll have the full bluegrass card. I do Keeneland every day for Wagertalk with I do full card selections, suggested tickets including exactas, trifectas, daily doubles, pick 4s and pick 5s, and then I'll definitely be doing some of the late card here, Arkansas Derby and Oaklawn for my personal betting. I may put a couple plays up on Twitter. And then Lexington is another Derby point race, just 20 points for first, but you'll have a couple horses in there like Proxy coming back that are trying to get just enough points to get themselves into the starting gate. So, and a lot of times I'll just handicap on the fly. I'll have my Keeneland bets down and ready. I'll have these Arkansas, Oaklawn Park Arkansas Derby, Oakland Park bets written down, but then I may just be in the book or at the house here watching the races and just put bets in on the fly.
All right. Well, great stuff. Then where can our listeners benefit from your plays and find out what's going on for the Arkansas Derby, if not the Kentucky Derby?
You can catch me on Twitter at SIG Las Vegas, SIG Las Vegas, all one word. Also find me over at Wagertalk. Just look under the handicappers. You can get right to my page. I have my top choice for every day that I do a card. I put my top choice complimentary on the page there. So even if you don't want to purchase my full card selections, you can still see who my top selection is in every race. And you can catch me also on Pony Pundits every Friday afternoon. Right now we're going at 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 Pacific. Live Marco D'Angelo, Joe Ranieri, and myself usually discuss one of the biggest races of the weekend every week and give you our breakdown and how we're attacking it.
Make sure you guys go and check out SIG over at Wagertalk.com. All right, my friends, now let's talk a little bit about UFC Fight Night on ABC2, Vettori versus Holland. Now, this is going to be a decent main event. 185 pounds, middleweight bout, and it's obviously not for the championship or anything. Israel Adonijah has that, and Adonijah has beaten both of these fighters. But these fighters are probably borderline tier 1, tier 2 fighters. Kevin Holland's a good fighter. Kevin Holland just lost to Derek Brunson. And Derek Brunson's kind of been on a tear. And I'm kind of mad at myself for missing out on this one and not betting it. I was more involved in March Madness during this time, right? But anyways, I'm not going to fault him for that. Kevin Holland was looked at as a very good fighter until he went to decision against Derek Brunson and lost. He fought Ronald Souza, beat him with KO. Darren Stewart, good old Gerald Meerschaert back in 2019. He lost to Thiago Santos in 2018. That's normal. Thiago was a great fighter back then. He lost to Brandon Allen. Got caught up in a choke. Then he wins 5 in a row. Then he loses to Brunson in decision. And now this made him a plus 285 dog. Marvin Vettori is minus 345. Now, I like Marvin Vettori. 16-4-1. Also young. He's 27. Holland's 28. Very good fighter. Won his last 4 in a row. His last loss was back in 2018 against Adonijah. That's normal. He beat Jack Hermanson, and Jack's a really good fighter. And I actually thought Jack was going to win that fight when they did fight. I don't think I bet this one. But anyways, the people that Vettori beat: Carl Roberson, Andrew Sanchez. Cesar Ferreira, he's pretty good. But then, he lost to Adonijah. Draw against Armari Akhmedov. Amari's a good fighter. Pretty good fighter. But it's not like he's deserving to be minus 345. I think Kevin Holland's loss against Derek Brunson really sent that skyrocketing. I think Kevin Holland would probably be like maybe a plus 140 or 150 dog max if he didn't lose to Brunson there. If you look at how these fighters match up, Vettori has a better significant strikes landed per minute by 4.78 to 4.14. Not huge. Kevin Holland's more accurate. 70% landed to 52.6% significant strikes landed. Vettori's got him on the ground probably a little bit better. Takedown average is a little bit higher. But these guys, really not that much of a difference in my opinion. Holland says he's coming here motivated. He only fought 3 weeks ago against Derek Brunson. So in my opinion, I think Holland's got a puncher's chance here. He could catch Marvin Vettori. I wouldn't have a problem putting a small half unit to a unit on this fight. I haven't decided how much I'm going to do it, but I'm at least going to give it out for a half unit here, half star on Kevin Holland here to redeem himself against Marvin Vettori.
Pay that man his money.
All right, well, the next fight I want to talk about is the one leading right up to it. And I think there's going to be a little bit of value here. I'm actually surprised that Arnold Allen is a dog to Sadiq Yusuf. I don't see why that is. All right. Now, Arnold Allen, first of all, killer mustache. I don't know if he's still rocking it, but he looked pretty awesome in it. Looks like one of those, cops from Super Troopers. But anyways, he has been on a tear until his last fight in June 25th, 2020. Right? He's won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 UFC bouts in a row. None of the guys were that big of names. Nick Lentz, I guess, is somewhat the last one he beat. But then COVID happens and he hasn't fought since, well, obviously this weekend coming up here. But before that, great record, 16-1. All right. Now, Sadiq Yusuf, same thing. Won 6 fights in a row, 4 in the UFC. He's only fought 4 times in the UFC, but he's done really well. Same type of deal, though. Guys like Gabriel Benitez, Shayman Moraes. No big names. Andre Feely, sorry. But when I look at this fight, Sadiq beats people by KO, and he goes to decision too. No submissions. Not the greatest grappler in the world, right? And then you look at Arnold. He's actually a very good grappler. 5 KOs, 4 submissions, and 7 decisions. That's important. Because if you look at the price of this fight, it says that it's going to go the distance at like minus 200. Right? Minus 200 to go the distance. Now, when I see a fighter or 2 fighters, one's good at grappling and one isn't, and the odds are telling you that the fight's going to go to decision. Well, here's one site. This is minus 175. Whatever. It's telling you it's going to go to the decision. Then I'm going to pick the guy that can grapple. And he's the dog here. If you look at how these guys match up, Allen, his significant strikes 3.19 to 6.1. Sadiq's got him there. The accuracy is pretty close, 46% to 53%. But the takedown average is 1.36 for Arnold Allen to 0. Sadiq doesn't do that. I mean, that's important. If this fight's going to the decision, what good is Sadiq's punches going to do if he's going to have to sit on the ground the whole time? So, in my opinion, the wrong fighter could be favored here. It's not like it's a big difference, but the fact that you're getting plus money on the guy I think you're going to win is probably worth at least a 2-star play. So we're going to go with Arnold Allen here. 16-1 to win this fight. Straight up win this fight, you're getting around plus 125. We're going to lay that for a couple stars.
Thank you, sir. May I have another?
All right, my friends. The other fight I'm looking at here that I haven't made a decision yet is Mackenzie Dern, 10-1 against Nina Nunez. And Nunez is 10-6, and I'm kind of wondering why Nina is the favorite here. Neither of these fighters have really fought a ton of hard competition, but, I mean, Mackenzie's fought back in December, not too long ago, and Nina's last fight was a loss against Tatiana Suarez back in 2019 of June. She's almost been out for 2 full years, right? 22 months, no fight. I mean, what's she doing as a favorite here? So I'm gonna dive a little bit deeper into this one and decide if I'm going to make this a premium play for OddsBreakers members. But with that, my friends, this is a short podcast, and hopefully you got some great information from Sig about the ponies and some good information for the fights this weekend. We're going to start diving into college football. We're going to start giving out some season win totals and some future plays and that. And we're obviously going to start digging into the NFL draft. I've actually started researching it last week. So expect some good stuff from the OddsBreakers on some college football and some NFL football. Obviously, we're still cranking out baseball plays every single week. My friends, thank you so much for listening to this podcast. If you have any other questions or if you want a game or a fight broken down, feel free to tweet us at the OddsBreakers. Have a blast watching the fights, watching the ponies, watching the Masters, and watching baseball. And go get some winners.